Good morning. Good morning from Melbourne, Australia. Good evening to friends in North America, and hello to anyone watching on replay. My name is Nancy Hetker, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Melbourne, Australia. And today I am going to follow up on some cards I showed on my blog earlier this week that I made using a stencil that I cut from the Christmas lights dies with this snowflake. And I thought maybe it would be useful for some people to see the whole process, because once you have it set up, it is really, really quick and easy to make multiples of cards. And we're perhaps getting down to the wire and wanting to be able to do that pretty quickly. So if you're here, please do say hello so I know that who's with me. And before we jump in, I do want to remind everybody that this Fitting Florets collection is available right now through the 4th of January. It has the framed florets bundle, which will be in the new January to April mini catalog, but it also has 3 additional items, including this absolutely gorgeous designer series paper. I love it so much that this blue leaf with the pink berries, the polished pink berries, I've put in my iPhone cover because I love it so much. And these gold swirl embellishments are pretty cute. And if you still need to make some Christmas cards, I've really enjoyed using the framed and festive stamp that's part of this collection. So I do encourage you to pick this up. The frame florets, the 2 that are carrying over into the mini catalog, are also wonderfully pretty, and I've been doing things. In fact, the entry on my blog today uses one of the framed and festive sentiments and the flowers from one of the flower sprays from the frame florets. So it's good bundle to have, and I encourage you to pick it up. Hello, Roseanne. Hello, Paula. So, like I said, I had done the stencil cards, and I wanted to show you a little bit about that process a little bit more. So I thought about going from the very first step, but that I will talk you through all of the steps and not actually make you sit through some of the tedious parts of making it. And it's not really tedious, it just takes some time and playing around. So this is some of the backer board from our designer series paper. I really like using it for the stencils because it's heavier than our cardstock, and it's got this plasticky coating on it, which makes it stand up really well to having ink used multiple times. And then I took this Christmas tree from the Christmas lights dies, and I had a vision of where I wanted things. This is wider than a card front because and taller by a little bit because I wanted it to cover the entire front. And then I wanted the die to be, or the Christmas tree to be towards the right side. So I put it on towards the right side. And then I have stuck it down with a long strip of washi tape on this side so that it hinges easily. And I'm using one of these self-healing cutting mats. You can use your silicone craft sheet. One reason I like this is that it's a bit bigger, so it's easier to work with. It's a bit stiffer, so it's easier to work with. And it has the grid lines on it, so it makes it easier to be able to put my card base exactly where I want it each time. And it's not exact, and we'll get into that in a little bit as well. So here is, and then I just ran this through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine as usual. So I know that I want my right side to be over here on this 8 line, and it's not lined up in that corner. It is, in fact, lined up on this line down here to get the correct height. So that's what I'm saying about it. It's reasonably precise, but not absolutely precise. And then I'm using the washi tape to hold it down at the corners, and I'm also going to hold on to it because that, as I'm using my blending brush, it can scoot around under there because it's not actually adhered. So this is my soft succulent, and as I was getting ready to do this, I thought, oh, my pads are pretty dry because we've done a bunch of Christmas classes. So I will add ink so that we get good, it's not too faint. And I had both my pads out, and I pulled out my Evening Evergreen re-inker and re-inked my soft succulent pad. So, yeah. So I went and I washed out my soft succulent pad and re-inked it. Fortunately, the water-based dyes, they do that. And fortunately, these colors are pretty close together, which means that if there's still a little bit of Evening Evergreen ink in there, it's fine. But so this is now very wet and inky. So it may come a little darker. Oh no, we're doing pretty well here. So I'm being gentle with my ink, swirling off excess, and then just swirling on with my blending brush. And I don't need to get it super solidly done. I like this sort of stenciled blotchier look. It's just fine. And I am going to come in with a little bit of Evening Evergreen here. From this side, and just darken up that side a little bit. Not tons and tons and tons, but a little bit. Like so. And then I can lift up. Come here. And voila. So I'm going to set that aside for a minute. I'm going to try to zip through and see how quickly I can do the other ones that I have pre-cut, just to give you an idea of how really quick and easy this can be. And on my snowflakes, I did Balmy Blue and Fresh Freesia. And it'd be fun to be able to do this with a little more contrast, but we don't really have a good set of inks to be able to do that. So I'm just going with a little bit lighter and a little bit darker and calling it good. There's two. You can see I've got some variation in color shading. I like that. The 8. Get it down there. There we go. So did everybody have a good Thanksgiving? My American friends. You may have seen on my Facebook page, we had ours belated since Thursday's just another day here. But we had a good one. I about had it with leftovers. which is good because we're about out of them. I think I have just enough to maybe make some enchiladas. If Nicole would get Nicole picked up tortillas for me, but she keeps forgetting to bring them over. So if she would do that, I could make enchiladas to share with her. So, went to a friend's house. Friends, that's always good. Glenn's just been super, super crazy with work. To good result, but still super, super crazy. So we just couldn't quite pull off anything with friends or other Americans or anything. So hopefully at Christmas time we'll be able to do a little more socializing. Yeah, the blending brushes are great. And like I said, quick, easy. You know, that's really blotchy. I don't really need to do a whole lot more. I might try to add a little more. And the more you use your brushes and keep them inky, the better and easier it is to get ink onto your cardstock. So I'm not even feeling the need to add any of that shading, really. Let's try one more time. This is the last one I have pre-cut, so let's see about darkening up that side a little bit. And you could do that just by adding more of the soft succulent on that side and not brushing any more on this side too, I think. You wouldn't have to have the second color, but I have it out for the next step, so we'll use it. There we go. Yeah, that didn't really do so much. Okay, so I'm done with my stencil for now. So some people do a brush for every color. What I've been doing is like one brush for all of the lighter greens and one brush for the turquoisey blues and one brush for purples and one brush for yellows. And I don't rinse them out anymore. They do tend to dry out, and then before I start using it on a new project, I'll swirl it around on a piece of scratch paper, and if it were inclined to give off large amounts of ink, that takes care of it, and then I use whichever particular shade I want to. For this project, because I wanted to try using the two different greens, I did grab two brushes, and I will rinse one of them out pretty well and keep the other one for dark greens. Yeah, so I've got two stamps that I want to do on this card, and they are different materials. One is photopolymer and one is red rubber. So the first one I'm going to do is the photopolymer sentiment, and I went ahead and I lined it up on my Stamparatus because, again, I'm trying to make this really, really fast and easy. And so if I line it up perfectly once, I don't need to keep doing it. So with the darker Evening Evergreen, I'm just going to come in and do all of my sentiments. And that's all it takes. And it'll be placed exactly right each time. I had hoped to use another sentiment out of the Brightest Glow set, the big Merry Christmas, but it was just a little bit too big to balance correctly on this card. So I went with this one. Had I been able to do another red rubber stamp, I would have, well, no, I might not have, because these are all pretty close to being in the identical place. These Christmas trees, close enough to be able to do my sentiment quickly and easily. See, now I've done all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those in no time. But now I've got a stamp to stamp inside the tree, and I could have mounted it up on the other side or on another panel for my Stamparatus, but I knew that if this was shifted just a little bit up or to the side, it wouldn't be perfect to align. So what I did is I pulled out, this has been discontinued for several years, about since they came out with the Stamparatus, but it's called a Stamp-A-Majig. I can, if you're in Australia, I can help you find one if you decide you want one. If you're in the US, you can track them down. There are plenty of them around. They're probably still being sold in craft stores, even though Stampin' Up! Doesn't carry them. They were made by another company. So what it does is it has this jig, which helps you align, and then it has this plastic sheet, which you stamp. What you do to start is you have your plastic sheet and the jig, and you put it in. Some people like to use it this way, some people, whichever way. You're going to use it consistently each time. I like to do this. And you ink up your stamp, and you put your block flush in that jig and go down and stamp. And that puts it on there. And then you line up your plastic sheet exactly where you want that image to go. And again, because this, when you stamped that image, it was, that corner was snug in there. Now, when you ink up, if you hold this in place and put that snug in there, you'll get perfect alignment. So that makes me happy. The Stamparatus, I'd probably come pretty close, but this just lets me get it exactly right for exactly where that tree is each time. And I wish I could use the Stamparatus in many ways, because these blocks are a little cumbersome for my little hands, but they'll be fine. Whoop, 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 see? That's what you don't want to do. That corner goes on the plastic, not the card, the plastic. So this is, it's at a funky angle to the card. Here we go. And keep that right side up so it doesn't smear onto your card. Man, I'm doing everything I could possibly do to make this work like a Stamparatus. Flipping things over, putting things in corners that don't belong in corners. There we go. Yeah, the Stamparatus is fantastic, and it does, I'd say 90 to 95% of what I need it to, but sometimes I just got to pull out my Stamp-A-Majig. Okay, so that's all 5 of those. Close this up. Clean off this stamp before I drop something on it. Yeah, and be careful of this because it's plastic and it just wipes off. It is very smeary. So I'm not going to wipe that off the plastic, and I'm not going to take this stamp off my block until I'm sure I don't want to make any more of these, because it's all perfectly lined up and I can just use it forever as long as I don't move anything. So get those out of the way. I will bring these in here. So these are these 5, and this, I did a test one, and yeah, I tried it on the Stamparatus, and then it lifted the whole card up and fell, and I got ink there. And I tried it again with the Stamp-A-Majig, and I decided that would work. So what I'm gonna do is take a moment now, because you don't have to. I like these, again, for quick and simple. They're just 1 layer on a card base. I'm not doing anything with layers on that, but you can, if you want. Cut it down a bit. And go ahead and layer it up, which is what I'm going to do with this, because I have a nice side there, but it wasn't good as a single card. So I'm going to grab I've got a soft succulent card base all ready to go. So I'm going to grab that. You see, you can go ahead and make it layered. And again, you would just use your single layer and do the same stenciling and what have you, and then mount it up onto a card base if you wanted to. And then so it is that, and then one inside. So I keep a lot of these pre-cut in that size, and I would just sit there and I would do all the stenciling and the stamping and then mount them up if I wanted to do them this way. So I like them. I like it both ways, but again, if my object is to get things done quickly, that is definitely the way to go, is the one base there. So then we can also fancy them up just a bit if we want. So let's pull out some of these festive pearls that have oh my goodness. They have these soft succulent ones. Let's put a couple of those on and see what we think. Maybe on this one that has the soft succulent background. And I'm just putting them on some of these big. It doesn't need to be all of them. Let's see here. Maybe it does need to be those two. Yeah, maybe it does need to be all of them. Let's see. It's a Christmas card. Let's pump up the bling. There we go. There's that one. So all kinds of things we could use. have some of these retired ones. Could use some of those up. And again, here's some supposedly soft succulent ones. So I think they are perfectly wonderful to send out without the embellishments. But I do like them with as well. Let's see. Let's put the big one up there. And I have a bunch of these smaller ones. These are the evening evergreen ones. What a good use for these. I'm happy with that. Yeah, if you do them on all the sizable ones, that's 10. That used up a good bit of those. That's nice. Should we do some plain rhinestones? Do a medium one there, and the small ones. I do like to go back and give them a quick press. If you do it with your finger starts to hurt. So I found the lid of the Take Your Pick tool works really well for that. There we go. Should we try something else as well? Thinking about these, but I don't think I want to use 10 of those on something, so I'm not going to do that. Oh, but I might not mind doing these. Oh, those are supposed to be pool party. Let me see what we got here. That's just excessive. Where are my, oh, these are the iridescents. Let's see, it's these others I don't have so much of. Let's do one in iridescent pearls. Oh, happy to see that these festive pearls are carrying over. That's a nice thing. We'll take one of these bigger ones for the very top. So if you weren't aware, let's see, tomorrow is the 1st of December, and the last chance sale starts for all the retiring product out of the July to December mini catalog. Basically everything except stamp sets are going to be 20 to 60% off, I think I've heard, which is pretty awesome. They very rarely put stamp sets on sale. And the clearance rack is going to be refreshed, and we're told that those perfect partner dies that were only available, I believe, in September, which include the piggy dies and the apple blossom, and I think another one that I used a lot. Anyway, those are all going to be on the clearance rack. Do I have gold stars? I don't have gold stars. I've got these, well, I have these gold flowers that kind of look like stars. And I'd be happy putting at least one of them up here. We'll see how heavy this makes this card. Come here, you. Good idea, Paula. Because I will say I haven't found so much to do with these stars, or flowers. Now I think of them as stars. I find things to do with them, right? Do you like them all over? I do. I might make some more to play around with. So that's what I had planned for you today. Just a heads up, next week, Nicole and I are on a road trip to Adelaide to work with the folks who are providing her next assistance dog. Booth has passed beyond retirement age, and so we're working on getting a successor dog. So I will not be live with you next week. I will have a reminder up on my page that I am not going live. But I will be back the following week, so I hope you will come back then. Have a great week. Happy stamping for those of you who actually stamp, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.